This conference will now be recorded. This conference will now be recorded.
Hi there.
Hello.
That was very aggressive looking.
Did you know that all our 4 doors are locked?
Unlocked.
They're locked.
Oh, they're locked?
I just called EDIT.
Oh, well, I'll open them.
Oh, you can do it?
Mhm.
See, I didn't know you were here. I tried calling downstairs.
Yeah, no, you can call them back and I'll take care of it right now.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I assume it's because they're. I told everybody that was with them.
This way, all things considered, we don't have to do that. With this whole COVID stuff, so think of a positive, like, you know, said we're already. And the sun will come up tomorrow, and we'll do some minuscule speck on the life of the earth, so. Go bicycle. How's it going?
Going well, how are you?
Good. Do we have a meeting tonight? 6 o'clock?
6 o'clock, yeah.
You doing okay?
You know what, I've been better, but it is what it is. What's giving me trouble? I'm just busy. It's a lot of projects right now, so it's just.
Oh, you guys are good. Your hands full. How's your family?
You know what, the kids are doing great. Amber's doing very, very well. which is all really, really nice. So, what about you? How's everything with you?
Oh, everything's good. The kids are good. We empty nest is over. There's 2 of them came home for a week or 2 before they go to school, so.
Okay.
So briefly have a little bit of a family again, but everybody's well. So what is this group together called a village board, or are they called something else?
The village board. Yep, and it's just a group of, I mean, they're all elected, but you know, it's, call them the village board and their trustees.
Yep.
You know, and Jeremy's the president, the village board.
Do you know what the agenda for tonight is, like how it's gonna play out, calendar or clockwise?
You know, it's fairly loose. We do have a paper at the end of here. I think we have. If we call to order at 6 or shortly thereafter. And
So the public listening session will be first.
yes,
Awesome.
and then if the board so chooses to take their next steps, they will.
Okay.
This is a revisit of all of this. We
Yep.
just had one of these 2 weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago. And, you know, it'll be interesting to see if any opinions change or whatnot.
We've asked a lot of input over the last year and
Well, it's tough. You guys, I don't know how you do what you do. Goodness. We definitely get input at the company, but it's still a dictatorship. Like, you know, I mean, if you want to do something, we decided to buy a piece of capital equipment for 50,000 in about 15 minutes the other day. We get each other in a circle, we're gonna do this, not, okay, do it, we'll buy it, you know. There's no months and months and months of,
bureaucracy.
you know, pain and suffering for everybody involved.
So here to just put forth some thoughts on this?
I'm gonna weigh in with my opinion, yep, and, probably not a good idea, but I got stuff.
That's fine. Everybody has the right and we encourage that. What's your overall thought, if you don't mind me asking? Or just
So my general overarching thought is, and I'm not gonna go into the whole thing tonight, but I would say that our community uses a lot of crushed rock. Myself, I just bought 60 yards for every half mile on the driveway. So there's no environmental gain to those guys out. It just pushes it into a different hole in somewhere else in the neighborhood or a little further away, maybe more diesel people get it here. You know what I mean? So I think wherever you are, if there's people love the idea of electric wind farm, unless it happens to be spinning over your house, then not so much, right? So I'm not looking to let those guys run in that. But specific to you guys, you specifically, what I'm gonna talk about tonight is that you guys have a huge amount of workload already and plenty of stress with other factors. So starting this is either gonna drive your stress out the roof, or it's gonna detract for something else that the community needs. I'll be the only guy maybe with that opinion, but
You know what, though? That's what's interesting about this is that whenever we have a controversial item, it's very, very seldom do we get the ones that are actually okay or for it. It's usually the ones against it, and that's what we hear. So we have to then try to weed through, you know, conversation versus conversation.
and everybody is just petrified about it.
About,
Hey there, Ben.
yeah, the system is being screwy. It's,
Of course it is.
Some of the people that have the most at stake can't say a word because they'll be in trouble. Just gotta let it by.
Interesting, isn't it? I mean, it really is a fascinating process.
it's also a little nerve wracking. Because, like you said, you know, we got an incredibly busy year.
Yeah.
Bring it on.
Want me to turn the lights on then?
Please, thank you.
I sent you that little note about the potholes. Have you heard anything of those? Do they like contract that out or who comes and does all that once?
We've been potholing. So we are potholing in the community.
Are you doing it right now or are you running the heat?
We did a first round earlier, and then right now we've been chip sealing and cracking. And we'll be coming back in and doing some more potholing. I will definitely forward it over again to make sure.
There's,
I mean,
I
it
don't know
looks
what the
like,
road is that goes from the other side of the building up to the industrial park, kind of the back way, so to speak. That road needs some work and then right in the industrial park itself on the north side of the road, those trucks are really pounding.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
That's
it's,
another thankless job that never gets done. Like being in maintenance.
yeah, it adds up, you know, it's a lot of interesting stuff.
Do you like the new meeting room?
Yeah. Oh, you're,
I'm from with branches in the industrial park.
oh, okay, how are you? Vader?
Yep.
Okay. No, I
Yep.
don't recognize anyone with masks on anymore.
No, the masks. On that quite a bit.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hello?
Hello. It's just remarkably warm considering it's hit the end of August.
Isn't that something
Still
else?
feels like it's the start of August.
And unfortunately at the school, you know, I work at the school. You know,
Oh, yeah.
okay. And so we're lucky enough to have a referendum passed last spring, and we're going to replace the air conditioner at the high school and at the intermediate school. And right now I can only get them to around 50% each. I mean, and I'm not, that's how close we are to, we need to have them replaced. So we're trying to limp them through this year, so next year we can do it the right way. And so we're only at 50% at most schools. So,
I just had somebody come and go through all our AC units for the factory and
Yep.
we need the humidity control. So
Yeah.
our processes won't work if it's too
Yep.
humid. So if that composites work, it
Right.
just doesn't go and you know, that's a lot of capital equipment. It's expensive and there's a lot to maintaining it. And
Yeah.
it's a challenge for anybody who's running that. And as it gets older, you got more and more to deal with.
Yeah.
Ours, to me, it feels like it's brand new, well, 03.
yeah, exactly. That's
You know, and like we just
intermediate
put,
school.
it just cost 130 grand for those, well, pretty soon it'll be 20 years old.
Yeah. And that's what we think about the intermediate school. It's our newest building and it still looks new, but it's almost 20 years old. It's like, holy cow. And they don't build anything to last 20 years anymore.
I
Well,
heard-
buildings, but not mechanical equipment.
I heard that you had a corona case up there. Did that cause a lot of people to get sent home or just a few?
I believe, I can't get the exact number, but I believe around 10 kids are in quarantine right now just because of contact over the weekend with the kid. So, yeah, just have to way to start the year.
My wife and I and our family suffered it in early March. So we already been through it. I guess maybe you can catch it again if it's been long enough, but
And my daughter and her husband, and they have a 3.5-year-old girl that went to daycare and dress her. They lived with us, or they finally bought a house, but they were in the process of buying a house, but living with us. My granddaughter got it from daycare, positive case. And we couldn't isolate at our house. Our house is small. And so we were locked down 24 days. It was crazy.
that's tough. My brother-in-law runs maintenance for the school district he's in.
So,
Oh, yep.
Well, hi.
Knows a lot about what you do.
What's going on? What happened?
I had my knee fixed.
You had it fixed.
I had it fixed.
Why, what did you do? Replace it?
I had,
Oh, I
my
know that.
ACL replaced.
Having good people in place
and this
makes
got
my job.
repaired.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
How's it going?
really good.
Good.
Well, that's the key right
So
to
you
everything.
ready
I
to
think.
run marathon?
Can't do it alone. You know, be surrounded by a good team. Just think, anything to
How
do
long
with
is
maintenance
that?
around this.
Well, they said 4 to
It's
6
tough
months, but
because.
I'm on the, I think I'm on the 2
years
to
of fixing
3
stuff,
months.
and people broke and whatnot.
It's healing fast,
It's
so.
tiring, it's hard to keep your chin up, but
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
Oh,
so how's business for you guys?
good.
Is it humming?
Yeah, we're feeling it, just because we've lost some staff for good reasons.
Anything I can do?
No, the system was working fantastic,
I mean,
and now it's
it's
flew
slowed
out.
down a little bit. I mean, as we-
It's
as
like
we
it just
head into
stopped working.
September,
I had it tested
we have Labor
an hour
Day,
ago.
people trying to take vacations in, and
Well, school started.
school starting and stuff like that, you know, it's slowed up a little bit. Well,
I really don't want to have this strap in here, but it's the only option.
Yeah, but we sold the culverts.
Well, I know,
Well, it's Thanksgiving of 2013. we did
probably fine. I know he's gonna touch it.
July
Right?
of 14.
No, we'll just be us walking this way.
Yeah.
So that was quite-
Bomb threat, I guess you can run right over. I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm going to,
We did the most social
Let that
event
way.
of our lives.
so watch out.
I'll hold it open for
And
you.
now being closed on Sundays, we camp a lot. So Saturday night, Sunday night camping. It's really easy to find Sunday night, but Saturday nights, everyone's booked.
Hi.
Hey, Bob, how are you?
Good, how are you? You're walking better?
Is it what?
You have to have it worked on?
Yeah, I had a cadaver ACL.
So your name in the paper?
You did.
Yeah.
Stitched together
Got
my
appointed to some committee on the board,
Oh,
county
yeah.
board? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, that's what it was.
I've been going to
But
their meetings for
pain.
months now.
Before, so
They decided they're better doing.
yeah. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
That's all they did. Nobody said the leg rest.
So when I sit back.
yeah. Two
I knew they
buttons,
did both.
two buttons.
I'll look at it.
I know. It's the newest fashion statement.
Sorry about that. Wait. I'll probably-
Some break, so
Did you break it?
I broke my tibia.
Hmm?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if I want to do this.
So almost 9 weeks ago.
Wow.
So I'm just about done.
Yeah. It's so, yeah, I can't wait to get rid of it.
So what about yours? Did you have replacement surgery? or-
My head, ACL replacement.
Oh, okay. That's painful as well.
No, the bad ACL was painful. This one's not so much.
That's an improvement.
Yeah.
Oh,
I, I had my ACL repaired, actually replaced.
You should get a big sign.
Evening, Deb.
Everybody's asking.
Yeah, it's so much better. Oh, yeah. It's a good thing.
Tuesday.
Well, since we had the first COVID case. the system,
Yeah.
Tracy and everything else, so it's working well for us so far.
So you've got. Continuity, and we listen to you stand.
So we can see what's happening.
Nice deep way.
Well, like you said,
Ordering.
it just goes to see what it's not that we're just doing it.
And then I use the other times, so. Shallow. Yeah.
Pretty good there.
Okay, I'm gonna get rid of this next week and then, in about 3 weeks, I can start to walk again, like, oh, I know, well, okay, start to walk a mile or whatever, in about 3 weeks, so. A big, huge improvement.
Sarah.
Hi, man.
The last one. I mean, it's great. It's really nice. Never really thought.
Hey, Van, we've had a little bit of audio troubles, so just let me know if you can't hear anything. Hi, Bruce.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
I'll do my best to be able to adjust for it, okay?
you sound real good. So,
Yeah, well, I'm on my phone now, but for some reason up in the hall, it's been a little screwy.
oh, really?
Yeah.
You're not having it outside in a tent?
No tent today.
Okay, I just want to double check.
Yeah.
Because if you were, I would have those misters put on like you have in the Hawaiian Islands. That way,
Yeah, because it's that hot.
kind of keeps it cool, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
important.
Well, I see Deb has arrived, and I think Joel is there. And Bruce, we get to stay home in air conditioning.
Yeah, we won't talk about how smart we are, but
No, we're above, way beyond.
we're just trying to protect our loved ones.
Hey, that's all I'm doing. We got no choice.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just glad I didn't go to a Sturgis rally a couple weeks ago.
Boy,
Ooh, the numbers, they look pretty grave out there.
yeah, and then do you see all the stuff overnight in Minneapolis too? That's
Ridiculous. Isn't that something? I love social media, but that
out
is
of hand.
just sad. That's how
Yeah.
all that stuff goes. But yeah, yeah, Kenosha, it sounds like they're getting kind of quieted down there. So
Yeah, and it's like anything else. We're not going to know the whole story for a while. And
No.
in the meantime, there's lots of things going on. I mean, you know how these investigations go. It takes time to collect everything and make it factual.
Yeah, and everybody's just got to be patient and wait. You gotta wait till everything's said and done first.
Yep.
Somebody's staring into their camera. You gotta have your mic on. I can't. You gotta turn on your mic. Oh, your mic is on. Yeah. Is it Jacobs? or I can't read her name.
Hi there. How are you doing today?
Ben mutes everybody but us initially until they want to speak.
You got it.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Jeez.
that's okay.
Yeah.
You will be heard. It's just
Yeah.
keeps the feedback down.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. We had just that horrible sound going through, sounding like something out of a sci-fi show.
Yeah, I don't know if we were going to get beamed up or not.
Well, I've had days where I guess that would be a pretty good alternative.
Oh my. Let's see. We're missing Jeremy.
Yeah.
You just pulled in.
Oh, there you go. That'll be good. We'll get off to a good start here at least.
Yeah.
Got 3 minutes, so yeah. They get runoff way on Main done on your street, Bruce. Did they get that done?
Did they get what done?
Weren't they working on a storm sewer down there? They were going to have to.
Oh, yeah, I think they did. I haven't been down that end of the block.
Yeah.
Been having some issues with my knee, so
Oh.
after all that stuff with my hip, now I got a cortisone shot in my right knee last Friday.
Do you have the ACE rewards warranty on that knee? Because if you oil it, you get 2 more years warranty.
No, I didn't get that, unfortunately.
Okay.
And they were talking about it was a 2-year warranty, and it's 68 years old, so it probably wasn't going to get covered.
You've expired your warranty
On more than one thing.
That sounds like my truck.
Yeah. Oh well.
It's on the back vestibule over here.
My dad told me a long time ago, getting old isn't for sissies. Now I believe in him.
No, the check engine light come on a couple of times already, and I'm really not liking it.
Yeah. It's never cheap when that light goes on.
No, thank God for good medical staff. They do a good job. I've been going down to the VA for quite a few years, and then I got my Osceola doctor too. Both Osceola and the VA take good care of me.
There you go.
Oh, it's 5:59.
And don't sit down. My God. What did she get attacked by? A bison, buffalo.
My clock's wrong on my computer.
They cool and they don't.
Well, it says 5:59 on mine.
Yeah, mine says 6:02.
Oh, you're something. You're on the River Street zone time zone. You're one over.
Yeah, different time zone.
Yeah,
It's like Minnesota time.
it's the same thing. California time there.
Yeah. Well, it's a couple minutes ahead, so I can say I'm ahead of my time.
Well, you are a little advanced, yes. Kind of like my old 62 Dodge engine I tried to start this morning.
Okay, looks like we're getting ready to go.
Yeah.
I'm just listening. They can't hear me, right?
Yeah.
Maybe.
We'll have to look into maybe getting a 360 view camera or something.
Yeah, wouldn't that be nice?
The audience.
They got those. Doesn't Google Maps have one that they have on top of their cars.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess we gotta let them get started here.
All right, we will call the meeting to order at 6:01 PM. I apologize for being late. I had to do work, so I rushed here as fast as I could. All right, so we had a request for a meeting from, I believe it was Lisa, and Deb and Bruce have called this meeting.
Yep.
What's the protocol, I guess, will be the public comment section.
Bruce, do you?
Pardon me, I didn't hear the question.
Sorry, I just said that Deb and Bruce had called the meeting, and if they had
That's-
anything they wanted to say before I kind of go through what the public listening section portion will be.
I still couldn't hear you, Jeremy. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you guys, your volume is way down. Can you turn your microphones up or somehow?
Or just get closer to them.
Bruce, can you hear me?
Yep.
He just asked if you or I had anything that we'd like to say prior to this, since we were the two on regular calling it. Yeah.
I just had one thought. I know we've had a lot of discussion. A lot of people have spoken to the board over the last couple of months about all their concerns, and I think we understand what those concerns are. What I'd like to talk about tonight is going forward, rather than rehash the concerns, because I think we're all familiar with them. I'd really like to talk about what are the various avenues open to us at this point, and what are the repercussions of choosing option A, option B, option C, option D, whatever it is, and what are the possible implications of those choices. That's really what I would like to focus on, and I would like to have that be a back and forth discussion between us and the citizens. That's basically what I was thinking about this meeting was about. And if you want to chime in with more or different thoughts, Deb, feel free.
Yeah, I just want to say, I just want to thank first of all for allowing the local residents the opportunity to have a public forum. I started my day today actually standing in Lake Itasca, the headwaters of the Mississippi. And as peaceful as it was, I couldn't help but think about 2,400 miles down the river in Louisiana and the destruction happening there with everything. And I thought with everything going on in the country with hurricanes, pandemics, civil unrest, everything, communication is a huge thing. And we need, that's where we're going to start to do better and get better. And we started a local, a conversation is huge. I have a 23-year-old daughter who is a recent college grad starting out in the world, and we've had a million and one conversations about things. And had one recently, and I ended up scribbling notes out of it because, and this was something I said to her, to my niece who's 18, who's just started college, and everything, and it just simply is, stand by your convictions, continue to educate yourself, listen to different opinions and learn from them, be willing to defend what you believe, be willing to change your thoughts if needed when new information comes along. But most of all, continue to listen and engage the world. And that's what I'd like to do tonight, just give us a chance to engage and have a conversation.
Yeah. It seems like to me that it's been a one-sided conversation. Either the citizens are talking or we're talking, but we weren't talking back and forth together.
Okay. Well, that might be interesting, because I don't know how we're gonna do this. The first item is the public listening session. We're gonna go for your resource access. So my thoughts were, I've been pretty loose with time before, but I don't know how many people are going to be speaking tonight. So, sorry, can you guys hear me online?
Yeah,
Yes, we can.
Okay, that's loud in here. Okay. So my thoughts on how to run this is Whoever wants to speak, we'll have 3 minutes. I'm going to set a timer. We are going to stick to it. I ask that you respect that and stick to it as well. At the end of the person speaking, if any of the board members would like to interact with them, I would say do it at that time. Just to try to avoid kind of the going back and forth later if they're sitting out there, and just to try to kind of keep a consistent motion with this. Anyone else thoughts on that?
It sounds good to me.
Sounds reasonable.
Does that work? Okay. All right, then, without further ado, we will start. Yep, sorry. Deb just reminded me, when you approach, just make sure the green light is on the mic. And then speak slowly, your name and address, please, because we're going to have to record it. And sometimes it's hard. If you spell your name, that might be even more helpful. Again, we're going to stick to the 3 minutes, so I will set a timer when the timer's done. Please respect that, and then we will open up discussion if anyone has any comments or wants to ask any questions. All right.
Can I just quickly ask, if we have a conversation, is there sort of a limit on that, or?
I would say that'd be hard to have a limit on, just because I don't know what that would be.
Okay.
And I don't know, we might not have questions for every person, so I'm just saying, if you're going to do that, please do it while they're up there and not later. If you want to do it later, I suggest after the meetings, like we've done in the past. People stick around and want to do that, so. All right, so first item of business, public listening session regarding North 40 resources and non-metallic mining. Max 3 minutes per speaker. Okay, what I'm going to say is if we could start with the people who are here, and then we will move to the people that are online by phone. So whoever would like to go first, please start.
I don't enunciate too well to begin with, and the mask isn't. But my name's Ed Vader, and I live at 198 240th Street in Osceola, and I'm the owner of a manufacturing company here in town, and our address is 812 Prospect Court, Osceola. Our company pays a considerable amount of property tax in support of this community each year. This is really a tough issue for me because our company is entirely made of people that are environmentalists. We offer a product, a canoe, kayak, stand-up paddleboard paddles. We contribute sums of money to river associations all over the place. We have a very active sustainability team in our business, and then won awards for what we do, and our waste stream is limited. So the environment is very important to us. But I'm personally feeling like that this is a not in my backyard issue, and that the desire to get the quarry out of here is really to just get it somewhere else, because we're going to need the rock. It's going to come from somewhere, and we just move the hole across the river. But specific to you folks here, I'm very concerned about embroiling ourselves in a long and time-consuming and potentially legally expensive battle over this quarry. You folks, all of us in the village, there's a lot of challenges that you guys are dealing with, that we're dealing with, and some of them are big. You folks and Ben have a heavy workload, plenty of stress, and embarking on this will add another layer to that, and if nothing else, will force other things to go undone where your time is diverted. In my view, the rules outlined in the latest Town of Farmington ordinance with respect to the quarry, they're well thought, they're detailed, and they're restrictive. our community will be safe and well served as that rock is crushed and delivered to all of us in the community for all the different uses we have. In terms of giving you guys feedback about what's the recommended course of action, I wasn't really prepared for that, but I would say that at the point this property is reclaimed, rezoning or annexing will be far less contentious than it is now in terms of dealing with this business. And I think one just needs to look at the north end of Stillwater to see how beautiful an old quarry looks when filled with high-end residential dwellings. I know this has been difficult for all you guys. I appreciate your service and I appreciate you giving us all. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know if you're want a conversation on that or if that's right there.
Before you sit down. And just FYI, I'm starting the timer once you say your name. I am going to
I
start.
hadn't planned to get my address and all that stuff, but
No, so I'll start it. Maybe I'll start it after the address. I did let you go for a second. I am going to raise my hand when there's 30 seconds, just to give everyone kind of a heads up that it's almost done. So yeah, stay up when you're done. If anyone has any comments, questions, this would be the time to ask, including people online there, Bruce and Van.
Nope, no questions.
No questions.
all right, well, and I really do appreciate what you folks do. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
My name is Roger Hale. I'm a seasonal resident at 711 River Street. I rented on the St. Croix River for 17 years and always hoped to find a place to buy, which I did 30 years ago on River Street. And I have been, it's a wonderful community and we love it, frankly. We contributed generously to the playground for disadvantaged kids at the hospital, at the clinic, and also to the library in this building. I'm just here to speak for the idea of extraterritorial zoning. And I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a planning or zoning person, so I don't know all the ins and outs. But it seems to me there's very little downside to doing that. And it would be time consuming, but it would be, I think, a very careful and judicious way to approach a difficult issue and to look at all the environmental, land use, traffic issues that are related to this possible expansion of the mine. My greatest concern is the possible effect on the St. Croix River of this development that could go on. And I think that it's so important to this area. One of the great pieces of environmental legislation, which was led by Senator Gaylord Nelson and Senator Mondale some years ago, and it's created a tremendous asset to the country and to the nation. And that piece of environmental legislation, I believe, was the first big piece that then went on all over the country of different rivers. And it would be a shame, I think, to do anything that could possibly jeopardize that river. I think maybe it wouldn't, maybe the protections are going to be there, but I see no downside at all to doing a careful study for a year or two to check out all of the possible aspects of it. Thank you very much, and I also appreciate the work that you folks do on the ability to perform it. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick.
Roger, just quick before you leave. Any questions?
No.
Bruce, Dan?
No questions for me.
Thank you, Roger.
Oh, no, don't worry about it. No, seriously, don't worry about it. Oh, yeah. Hello. I am Rita Rasmussen. My home address is 539th Avenue, Somerset, Wisconsin. I am with my family a business owner in the town of Osceola at 99 Cascade Avenue. We own the Watershed Cafe, so-called name for its beautiful shedding of water into the St. Croix River. I honestly feel I'm a little thrown back. I understand aggregate mining and I understand sand mining. I remember originally coming to mine meetings talking about sand fracking. Now are we talking about aggregate mining and providing rock and stone for our community? Or are we still talking about sand mining and digging it out of our state for fracking purposes? You don't have to answer me. These kind of mines, especially in the state of Wisconsin, I found 3 reports of them going bankrupt. So as a business owner, and the economic impact of a business, you take responsibility. I am a law-abiding citizen. I'm an upstanding citizen. I follow mandates. I pay my taxes, pay my employees, don't cheat, don't steal. And if anything ever happened in my business where it was a devastation to anyone in this community, I would take full responsibility for that. So why I'm here is I want to know the full responsibility of that mine. Where's the DNR stance on the mine? Where's the state of Wisconsin on the mine? Why is it such your responsibility as not the state of Wisconsin's responsibility in giving permits to the mines? I'm wondering if anybody knows who, I think it was Roberta Walker. She is the one you go to get permits for mining. So my concern is, I get, and I think it's amazing that a small village like East Farmington can put forth legislation for mining. But I'm wondering where's the state of Wisconsin in this, the DNR? Those are my questions. And where's the impact when this mine fails? Or if something tragic happens? Or if these guys go bankrupt? We already have an unsightly hospital in this town. We don't need an unsightly hole. So, with that said, the reason I'm here, again, my business in town, part of that business in town is because of that river. The tourism of this town depends on that river. I don't understand Ed Vader's comments, but his business depends on those rivers. So let's keep that in mind, please. And I think we all in this community do a great job. And we all have different jobs in this community. And we all need to do good jobs.
All right, anyone have questions for you?
No.
Thank you.
Good, thank you, Rita.
Nothing.
Anyone else in the room?
Hello, I am Lisa Curry, 397 Ridge Road, Osceola, Wisconsin. Ruth, Deb, thank you so much for calling this meeting. I really appreciate it. I appreciate what both of you have said in regard to what you would like to happen tonight. 16 months ago, the village of Osceola learned that we had a new mine owners of the Ryback gravel pit that were mining for silica sand and going into the groundwater. For 30 years plus, Ryback gravel pit never came close to mining in the groundwater. As we know it, North 40 is not currently mining for silica sand because there is no market. Up until a few months ago, there has been very little interest by the trustees on how the mine of this size could impact the well-being of our river town community and environment. Because you have been extremely busy with other things, I understand that. At this time, I would like to say that calling a committee in regard to this several months ago would have been something that me as a citizen would have advised. We as citizens of Osceola and surrounding communities have been fighting this fight for a long time without you. We have studied the environmental issues, community issues, and personal well-being a mine of this size can have on our river town. We have spent thousands of hours, thousands of dollars, time away from our jobs, our families, and more. Now that you do have an interest in what is going on the past few months, you hired an attorney that helps you with issues for extraterritorial zoning. Attorney Emily Dunham, you've paid $2,280 to as of now. And in regard to this month, it sounds like the bill is going to be much higher. Mike Turecki, resident of Osceola, an attorney at law, has offered numerous times over the past 15 months his collected data and research. But he spent countless hours, time away from his business and much more regarding the mine of North. I understand that the village's attorney Emily is not here this evening attending tonight. I would like to request that if there are any questions regarding the mine, that Mike Turecki be allowed to respond with his outstanding legal advice regarding extraterritorial zoning and the ongoings of this mine. Okay. And by the way, tonight's mic, if you use it, it is for free because he cares so much about what is going on in this community. Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa. Anyone have any questions? Anyone have any questions, comments for Lisa?
Lisa, I have been following what was going on in Farmington and the mine. I haven't ignored it, even though we've been busy in the village. Following what Farmington's been doing with the ordinance. I don't think I could have done any more than Farmington did. So I have been following what's going on. I haven't ignored it. Just so you know.
And
Yeah.
we as a community, can I respond, please?
Yeah.
We as a
Yeah.
community have reached out to each and every one of the trustees about the legalities, about the extraterritorial zoning and everything that has gone on. That Dennis has studied, he has been doing hours and hours of research himself. So we have offered that up.
Yeah.
Have you met with any of us?
No, I haven't. No, I haven't.
Thank you.
I would just second, I mean, we had a council going through this is just,
Yeah.
we've met numerous times. So we haven't ignored it. I would say, I know that I offered to meet with you, Mike, Holly. I met with Holly once, actually. We've communicated at different meetings. And as far as the legal fees, I mean, that was to look into what you asked us to look into. So I do feel that we have been doing things and not just ignoring it.
This is Bruce. Lisa, one of the things I think that's maybe not well understood, and if we could have a quick 2 or 3 minute discussion about that. The way I read the extraterritorial zoning, it's not a magic silver bullet that's going to fix this problem. It's a methodology or a process to set in place guidelines and for a mine to operate based on input from both of the communities that it's surrounded by. But I don't think it's a vehicle that will allow anyone to legislate, if you will, the mine out of existence or out of operation. And as far as the expansion of the mine, the current recently adopted Farmington mining ordinance only allows them to operate or expand 40 acres at a time. And they have to start reclamating the 40 they're taking out of production. So they're not going to have 200 acres running at any one time. Okay, so I'm not sure what you think extraterritorial zoning is going to do for you, but if you could address that for just a couple minutes, what you think that would look like if it was enacted?
Absolutely. 3 people from
Would ask
Osceola,
if you can speak into the mic so they can hear
3
you.
people from Osceola and 3 people from the town of Farmington will be able to get together for up to 2 years and discuss things that are happening for the well-being of our community, for the river, for the store owners, and for the Christian community homes that will be sitting right alongside the mine, the expansion, listening to it from 6 a.m. until 7 p.m. at night, the dust in the air. These 40 residents, I am here to speak for loud and clear, Bruce, that I don't believe that we should allow this mine to go to be permitted 200 acres, and we will not have anything to say about it. For the next 30 years, these 40 people plus so many more will be affected. Would you put your mother or father and would you have them be a resident in this home next to the mine?
I'm a resident in this village and a taxpayer in this village. And I'm concerned that we're getting into something that if we have to spend any money, I mean, these mine owners are not going to just roll over and play dead if you want to come in and try to legislate them out of existence. They will fight back and they will sue us. And any money we spend in a lawsuit is going to be borrowed money, which means we have to raise taxes to cover it. I don't know that everyone in town is going to be happy about raising taxes again to cover a lawsuit over that mine. That's one of my concerns. And I don't see that this will fix your problem. Your problem is you don't want the mine there. There's no way legally for us to get rid of it.
This isn't my problem. The mine is not my problem, Bruce. How many thousands of people are here in the village of Osceola and surrounding communities? That is there, it is all of us. We are all together. This happens to be on the border. It's just a border, Bruce. We live.
Okay, I'm not making myself clear. This is not a problem you can legally stop them from operating. That's my point.
And that's why the 2 years, up to 2 years would be very helpful.
The 2 years is only if it takes you that long to come up with an ordinance. If you come up with one sooner than that, you can't just play the 2 years to try to get yourself 2 years respite from this. That isn't what it's for.
It isn't an ordinance that would be put into place. It is a discussion among 6 people about the health and well-being of thousands of people and the river, the air, the existence of our future for the next generation.
So Lisa, let me ask you a question. You think if we do extraterritorial zoning that there will be this discussion among these 6 people and they will decide that that mine needs to be shut down and they can shut it down?
I think the best person for that answer is Mike Ferrecki.
Okay. That's really what we're trying to get to, is what are the realistic outcomes of this thing?
That's a call for me. I was
Mike, I'm going to start your 3
Mike.
minutes. If you do have prepared statement, do you have something that you'd like to say to all of us before you just speak directly to Bruce? I guess I'm going to.
Well, I'm speaking to all of you.
Well, then I'm going to start 3 minutes, and then we'll have.
All right, well, I didn't, yeah, that's fine. I was blindsided a little bit by Lisa. I didn't know she was on legal services. I always tell people, you know, really don't mind you get what you
Sorry, I'm going to ask you to just state your name and address.
Mike Ferrecki, 397 Bridge Road. I would say a few things. First of all, I would have to address Bruce's question briefly. And it is a complicated area. It's going to be tough to do in 3 minutes, but I'll try. The town of Farmington, there are 2 things the mine operator is going to have to do in the town of Farmington. They're going to have to get a conditional use permit, and they're going to have to get a license. Conditional use permit is a zoning, issuance of that is under the town zoning powers. The license is under the town's police powers or regulatory. Extraterritorial zoning is just what it sounds like. It deals with zoning. There can be different opinions on this, but my opinion would be the town of Farmington's ordinance, which has already taken effect at this point. That's going to be there no matter what the village does with extra territory zoning. But what the village can impact is whether or not a conditional use permit is issued. And the other thing the village can impact is how whatever area they choose to include in extraterritorial zoning, how that committee decides that property could be zoned. So in fact, yes, if they chose to, this committee could decide that they want to zone this area so land expansion cannot expand beyond the existing.
Mike, you're fading out. I can't hear you.
Could they be sued? Sure. Would it be successful? Maybe, maybe not. I think personally, I don't know if this village carries liability insurance for lawsuits, but I think you do what you're supposed to do and what's in the best interest of the community. You know, not take the step you need to take because you could possibly be sued. My last point before I run out of 3 minutes is I would say the village has not done its homework on this issue. I mean, we had a hard time getting the experts here to talk about water issues. We had to pay for those experts. The only traffic study was done by a number of citizens who sat in the airport parking lot for 2 afternoons. Has the village even looked at the reclamation plan for the original 80, much less the remaining 200 acres? Now, I understand you had more pressing issues at the time, but one way to give you a chance to do your homework and address this major land use change in your community is by exercising ETZ and then doing the studies and the homework you have to do so you know as this mine expands and if it expands, how that's going to affect the citizens of Osceola. I don't think you know that.
Questions or comments?
Mike, this is Bruce. Second question.
For Mike.
Under an ETC enactment, are you saying that you could rezone the land, that 200 acres, to where you couldn't mine it?
Yes. If the committee chose to do that. That's the whole purpose of extraterritorial zoning, is for the joint committee to take this parcel of land in both communities and decide what land use they want in the future. They wouldn't have to, but they could.
Well, okay. That answers my question because I think you have a very small chance of rezoning that without having legal repercussions.
So beyond the legal repercussions, I have a question. My understanding of the extraterritorial zoning was, especially prior, their ordinance was about 1.5 pages. We had talked about that, correct?
The original permit for the 8 acres.
Sorry.
Yeah.
For non-metallic mining in town. So if we enacted it back then, that would have been true, and the new one would have been scrapped, correct?
That would not have been my opinion. Because I would think of this as like, so first of all, the tavern has to get building permits and comply with zoning in order to build a tavern. But after that, they still got to go get a liquor license from the community. These are different powers, and they come in a different line of cases. I think your acts would affect zoning, which means conditional use permits, future zoning. I don't think it would affect the regulation of the operation of the mine, which Farmington has passed, and which affects not only this mine, but any mine that they would take place in the town of Farmington. I think that would have gone ahead regardless of your steps.
Possibly, but I mean, you say you think, opinion, possibly it could have been that, or it could have been the 1.5 pages. They could have applied for, put in a conditional use permit, which then we would have had to be in charge of. And as far as my opinion at that time, there was no reason to deny it. So that could have got us into a situation, I don't know what the repercussions would have been, financially it wouldn't have been good. I also understand that to do this, it's going to cost between $25,000 to $50,000. I believe
A lawsuit perhaps to do the extraterritorial zoning is like any other. there's nothing.
I swear we were standing by that door and we said that number and you said that sounded about right.
No. For a lawsuit, yes. Not for an act of zoning.
And I guess I don't have any other questions right now.
Mike, I have a question. You mentioned, did you do traffic counts out there? What did they show?
Well, we counted the number of trucks. Boy, I don't have that in front of me. I would say it was, am I correct? It was about 100 trucks a day coming and going from the mine in Farmington, and this would have been about a year ago today, I think.
Okay. What's the daily traffic on 35? The average daily traffic?
I wouldn't know that. We did keep track of trucks passing that also that were not going to the mine. Out of all semis. I don't have that with me, but I think, I don't know if anybody else can recall the numbers. We track the semi trailers and the dump trucks coming down at 85, and then its entirety and also the number of that.
Okay.
My point is, why are we doing this? You know, why isn't this being done by the village before, you know, to look at it, to protect its businesses and its citizens? I know you were busy and saying how you can get yourself to town.
And just as a point of reference, the MnDOT has the average daily traffic in downtown Osceola is about 10,000 cars a day, or vehicles per day. Thank you.
Give me 1 second, I gotta get back. Sorry.
Hi, I'm Pete Olson, one of the owners of North 40 at 681 267th Avenue in Osceola. Before I read my prepared statement, I'd just like to mention that when it comes to reclaim mine property, you could build just about any type of end use that you can think of. So really, a reclaimed property, all zoning could potentially exist there after mining has been completed. As mentioned in the past, mining operations in Wisconsin are currently regulated by local communities, counties, the state, and the federal government. Some local governments choose to place higher restrictions and requirements on mining operations than those other higher levels of government require. In the case of Farmington, the town has adopted an ordinance that will significantly impact and regulate any new mining operation in their town and on the go forward. They have spent over a year discussing concerns of citizens, meeting in committees, and hiring experts, as well as receiving information from experts hired by the citizens groups. Every concern brought forward has been discussed and addressed in the new town ordinance. Did each individual get exactly what they wanted? Of course not. That isn't how government works. I can assure you North 40 did not get what we had hoped for. I can also assure you that new mines in Farmington will have a competitive disadvantage to other mines in the area. The ordinance is very complete, thorough, and detailed. It will be more expensive to comply with and will yield less returns due to both time available to operate and sell, as well as less reserves being permitted. And the final version of the ordinance does not allow mining in the water. It requires 5 feet above the water, which removes nearly 6 million tons of potential mining aggregates. Keep in mind that non-metallic mines in the Midwest are seasonal. Yes, there are days and times of the year that impacts are noticed, but there are also long periods of time with little or no activity. During these times that the mine is closed, the airplanes keep flying over, the trains keep passing by below, freight trucks, motorcycles, and ATVs continue to pass beside us, having some of the same impacts. Trustee Rose brought up at the last ETZ meeting in Osceola that if the mine has several years left on the current parcels, why do we need to keep the process moving forward? Any business can tell you that in order to be successful, you must plan years in advance. Mining requires expensive capital investments that need many years of operating to recoup these costs. Imagine you're an employee at the mine and not knowing if you'll have a job in 3 years. What about customers who depend on these products to operate their business? Or vendors and suppliers who count on sales to the mine contributing to the success of their businesses? Delaying due process only makes things more difficult and makes businesses susceptible to problems because of being rushed into a just-in-time expansion. The proposed expansion property is moving south and west away from the village of Osceola.
I just have a couple other things, but that's all right. Maybe some questions about it.
I'd appreciate having it, if you could email me the rest of it, I'd love to see the rest of it.
Yeah, I can leave a copy here and
Yeah.
you know.
I need to look at that, but thank you.
Does anyone have any questions or comments?
Nope.
No comment.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Jerry Debra from Osceola, 513 Gerald Street. I don't have any, basically, I'm just giving observations. This is a disaster. When you stand back, you look at it, you look at our village, and having that mine there, I think it should be a lesson to all of us. We gotta keep ahead of these things, and it's hard to do anything. Excuse me. Now, but one thing I did want to bring up was the mine in Dresser. Have any of you had any discussions with Dresser? There's a mine proposal there. And Dresser did use territorial powers. Has there been
I believe they had a boundary agreement. Is that the one you're talking about, like in the past few years?
Yeah.
I believe it's a boundary agreement. I don't believe they use ETZ. It could be a half a boundary agreement that from a recent.
Yeah, whether it was ETZ, I thought it was, but I couldn't.
I think they went with the boundary agreement instead.
Okay.
Don't hold me exactly on that, but they do have a boundary agreement, someone said.
And again, it's just observations. I hate to see this in our village. I appreciate you guys and gal doing the work you do. But I think you should do everything you can to make the outcome of this have the least impact on our village, because I think the truck traffic is one of those things you can't put a dollar figure on it or an impact, what that's doing. But I really think that's had a huge negative impact on what people see, how they see our village. Those big trucks shaking our stores downtown, how can you say what that impact is? It really, it has a huge impact. And there's one other thought, if I can bring it up. I guess it's generally, I think we've all learned lessons in this village in recent years about being alert citizens, monitoring what's going on. So again, just observations. Thank you.
One second, Jerry, before you leave. Good. Anyone have any questions or comments?
Thank you.
Nope.
No questions.
Hi, my name is Matt Torgerson. I'm also one of the owners of North 40, 681, 267, Osceola. I guess I just really want to address the extraterritorial zoning that's a few people are trying to utilize this loophole, not for the long-term planning of what the village of Osceola has in place, but a tool that was brought up in July with me by Mr. Bradley, the word from across, really just to stop our proposed expansion. From what I see, the village of Osceola does not have any sort of platted and long-term plans in regards to the expansion of the properties. Currently, there are properties within the village that have not been utilized for expansion. So why not concentrate on what you already have in your zoning jurisdiction rather than jumping ahead and attempting to stop a tropical business that has been there since 1979? Debbie stated in the last discussion of the exit, look at all the businesses that have built to the south. Are we not a viable business? You also stated that homes can't be built on mines. Actually, home developments are a common coastal reclamation use, and that is our plan. That is what we would like to do for coastal reclamation. I'm not sure if it's understood that what the financial impact of our business could have on the village of Osceola. I've discussed with a few members along with Ben, and I've tried to get them understand the short, long-term capital improvement budget and project list that hasn't been updated for a few years within the village. We got Simmons Drive with 3 healthy businesses, a bus garage on an outdated 20-foot street. The airport's looking at updating the terminal building. River Street has infrastructure older than probably anybody here. That street also accounts for a fair amount of annual expenses. Every year there always seems something that breaks, right? The little clay line, and there's a lot of things that need to be done. There's a possibility of a new elementary school in the foreseeable future. If we just look at some of these costs, you know, conservatively, and this isn't even figuring out other expansion stuff, just have it in mind for our research could save the village well and above $500,000 just because of the location of the truck. My thought is, how do you jump in blind trying to pass a resolution to stop the expansion of important business to the area? In my mind, you can't be pro-business and then vote to pass the resolution. In retrospect, you are condemning our expansion because that's really what this resolution is about. It's about expansion because you don't have anything in place for future. Why are we in a hurry was another statement made. We have been actively working on this with the men and women of Farmington Township for over 14 months. I sat on a committee that helped develop recommendations for the Farmington board to put in their ordinance. We have given up a lot compared to the existing permit, which we acquired when we purchased the mine. In essence, we have to work a lot harder with less, which we are comfortable. Good businesses can function with less. You have, as a village, have to function with less due to your financial shortfalls. Some of these shortfalls are just.
Yeah, I would also say to anyone else that has any prepared statements, feel free to email them to any of us or to Ben if you didn't get to complete anybody. Does anyone have questions for Matt?
No.
Thank you, Matt.
I actually do have one, Matt. Just because I know traffic is an issue with a lot of people. How many trucks leave a day? I don't know if you have a number or a rough.
So, you know, last August would have been a high number because that's when we were sending silica to Mount Branch. I would say, you know, like today there wasn't a lot. You probably figure maybe 50, 60. Tomorrow we start just with 4 trucks is all going to Richmond for the transload facility in Richmond, 190,000 tons for a transload facility, which we are part of 4 different lines that are supplying that. I would say next week we'll have 12 trucks on that haul, so you're probably looking at probably 60 to 80 a day. And understand this is with Jerry, just going with what Jerry had mentioned, you got a state highway, Highway 35, that a lot of truck traffic comes through. A lot of our traffic actually doesn't even go through the village of Osceola. We take 243 if we need to get over that way. You know, this next week we'll be going south. The problem is when you see all the trap rock trucks, for example, everybody just assumes it's us. We wish we had all that traffic, but we don't. Trap rock has got such a neat product that people come from all over, literally the Midwest to get it, and a lot of them go right through town. So on an average, you want to put a percentage of what our trucks coming from our mine going through the village of Osceola, I have to say it's probably less than 15% that actually come out of our mine. Now that's just a number that could be a little bit more, could be less, but on a daily average, we normally take 243 over, or we're taking 35 south. My trucks personally, they'll normally run a delivery at the end of the day because where my shop is, so we always take something back home. whether it's from our mine or whether it's from Trap Rock, we always bring something back home because we don't want to go home to a pain in the driver, so.
This is Van. I got a couple of questions for Matt. Hey, Matt, I know we've had conversations before, and you're aware that I am, for the extraterritorial zoning. I'm wondering a couple of things here. First of all, is throw some extra ideas at you, and I also want to let the public know something. With this truck traffic and stuff, there's one aspect that I think people have to realize is that the Trap Rock trucks, these trucks coming, the traffic has increased like tenfold. They have not had a rock train come in to Osceola for almost a year. Just so you have that in mind, that really eliminated a lot of trucks. I've talked to Trap Rock, and they cannot find enough engineers right now. There's some other stuff going on that they're busy with running trains elsewhere. And right now, the priority is not for Trap Rock to run full crews back and forth from the Twin Cities and wherever else they come from to run those rock trains. That's why you're seeing a huge increase in those trucks. The other thing is I got a question for Matt also, is what about rail access to your pit if you're going to continue? Think about that down the line too. The other aspect of it is I have to also ask Matt, this extraterritorial zoning, what is going to be the overall impact? I don't like the idea of a future by other people to close down that mine. We're not in the business of putting businesses out of business. We're in the business to keep businesses in public safety and those things at their best. The thing that I have a question with is if the village was to adopt extraterritorial zoning, which all of a sudden now we've got to supersede a 27-page town of Farmington regulations that are already going to put a lot more pressure on you. I'm interested in just to make sure that what is that impact going to do to you when now you have two bosses to deal with? We're going to form another committee if this were to pass of six people basically from the village of Osceola and the town of Farmington to basically tell you what to do along with the state and the federal and the local government. My question is to you is what do you see, if any, is this gonna affect you as far as a business owner?
All right, yeah, hey man. So first to answer the question on the rail spur side of things, our product, as much as it is unique because of the line itself with all the 28 plus different products, it's not a rare product. So to actually bring in a rail spur to truck gravel, any type of commodities out of there, it wouldn't be efficient. You run into those situations like Trap Rock, as you are well aware, is one of the hardest rocks in the world. It's mind-boggling what a resource that is. They do a lot with shingles and different other, not just roads and driveways, that type of stuff. But so it would not be efficient for us to be able to put in rail access. Back in the silica days, you could justify if you had a dry plant, that was the key. Your lowest cost provider is the one who you want to be set up to be the lowest cost provider. So to find a mine, a dry plant, and everything on a rail, that was ideal. But that's not the case here. We would never have any intentions. We like rail. We've used it before in the past, but for this application, it would not be efficient for our application. So as far as that goes, and on your, I guess, twofold question on if you were to, kind of speak to two different people, if you will, entities. You know, I think we've proved that we were open. I do wish that, you know, we've had some good communication with some board members, from residents. I wish that we would maybe have more communication. I wish that, you know, sometimes that people could come direct with us and just ask questions, and it's no different than the Farmington Township. You know, we sat on that committee, and there was recommendations that were made that it affected our business, no doubt. But we understand that a perfect situation is not going to be perfect in these situations. We give some, somebody else gives some, nobody's happy. I think Town Farm did an unbelievable job with the ordinance. Like Pete said, not ideal for us, fairly restrictive, but I am a true believer if you run good business, you can make it work. They spent 14 months. You guys seen 27 pages. They sought out to get 5 pages. I think that's what the board's goal was, to be 5-7 pages. And we got 27 pages. So I think they've looked at all that stuff. I guess I don't understand why you would want to be involved in overseeing some of the stuff. I think we could have a direct, Joel, you and I have discussed in the past, an agreement, just a good agreement with us as a business to help you be in the know. That's stuff that we can just discuss. What is it that you guys have concerns with? What can we help? Even we don't need to go through lawyers to do that. We just have, like you said right away, good open conversation. That's what we want. So I think that's never been, nobody's really come to us. Joel we had a great conversation. We discussed a lot of this stuff. But I think that's where we can have a border agreement with the village of Osceola. As long as it doesn't restrict us anymore, I don't think we can, because we are really restricted. So it would impede us. Would it crush us, man? No. Would it create a lot more work? Sure. But we are already regulated enough by the DNR and, you know, the state of Wisconsin, and it just, you know, adding another hat in it, I guess we just have to deal with it. It's not ideal, but, you know, we have to do what we have to do to exist. We purchased this property knowing we had to expand. We had an agreement late last fall with the 200 acres. Not all that we own, but some that we lease. I guess my question on this would be is, why not then? I understand you're busy, but why in the fourth quarter? It feels like you're throwing a Hail Mary from your own 20-yard line in respect to some of the Fs right now, because I truly feel it's just to stop us from expanding and buying time. That's not the correct way for Fs to be used. In my opinion, I'm not a lawyer at the time.
Matt, are you done?
I'm done, yeah.
Oh, okay. I just thought it faded out towards the end. Yeah. All right. Thanks a lot. I really appreciate that. I just want to make sure that we're really clear that that a couple of people that talked about, they were interested in where is the DNR, where is the state, where's the federal regulations? Well, they're there, and we understand that. That 27-page ordinance with the Osceola Township is extremely detailed and has a lot of things to it. I more or less was for the extraterritorial zoning just to make sure that we had a double layer of protection for the area. I'm not sure exactly if that is totally the route we need to go. I don't know. My ears are open tonight, but border agreements, those types of things may be appropriate, like the Osceola Township did with their the village addresser had a border agreement. They did not have extraterritorial zoning. This could get really complicated. I just don't want the extraterritorial zoning, and maybe I was misrepresenting or I was getting information that I don't want to see the mine closed down. Okay, that was never the intent, and I don't think any of the intent of any of the other board members was to exactly close down the mine. The thing about it is that when this started out, it started out that frac sand mining was becoming an issue. And I don't know if we're going to see this in the near future. I think what we're going to see is a gravel pit with several different types of rocks coming out of there, like it was, except for it's very large. It's active. 40 acres is an active area and it's active space, and I think people were concerned about that. They still are with the dust and everything else. I don't know how much more you could do. We've had both meetings with the township and the village as far as everybody knows. So I think more discussion, like Bruce said, more discussion, and maybe we'll come up with some really good dialogue tonight. We'll have to see.
Just to understand, about a year ago, silica obviously was what put us on the map, track, whatever you want to call it. Our biggest opponents, like Mike, the conversation was had in the town meeting, Farmington, if we were a gravel pit, would you have any issues? And Mike said, no. Okay. We have no intention. The market is terrible. We bought this property not for silica sand. It was not the main purpose. It was a purpose, but not the main purpose. So that was, I think, got blown out of proportion. And I find it interesting, even with the town of Farmington's open book. Yes, there was probably, I don't know, 60, 70 people there. But in the scheme of 4,600 people between the town of Farmington and the village of Osceola, there was under 20 people represented that spoke against the expansion. I look here tonight, you've got, we'll call it 15, 20 people online. Call everybody here is against it, call it 30 people out of 4,600 people. In this day and age, I think that's a win, because you know what's going on in the world. The majority there isn't. It's 51%, 49%. All against whatever you say. So I find that it's a small majority. I give them credit. So.
Just back, sorry, one more. That's more of a comment, and I want to use this maybe as an educational piece. Is frac sand an actual term, or is it silica sand, industrial sand? Okay, need to clarify it for people listening.
Okay, so frac sand came from a provision of fracking. They use fracking. Silica sand is used for fracking.
It's silica sand, correct?
Sand. So we would use silica sand out of this mine. Well, I think they might have sold a little bit of it, but for glass making, we actually haul a lot for Menominee for carbon glass. The silica sand or industrial sand is made, used for glass. It's not, unfortunately, we call it the four-letter word that starts with an F, right? Unfortunately, that's what it is. And rightfully so in some areas of the country. But yes, it's a word it's probably not the greatest word we don't like to use, because when everybody hears that, it's just
but it is silica sand.
Silica sand.
Which is used in many different products, including the frac mining.
Absolutely.
And I bring that up because I've had about 7 instances where people have been worried about the fracking that's going on south of town.
Yes.
Which there is none.
There is none with the new ordinance because of the way that.
But I mean, fracking,
we won't be
oil and gas. That's what fracking is, correct? That does not happen there.
Yeah, we mine silica sand on the existing 80, but we won't on that expansion because of the gas.
More, I think what Jeremy is saying is that never been frac mine.
Yeah, I'm trying to clarify something.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. We're people said, are you a pit or a mine? Well, we're a sand, we're an aggregate company. That's what we are. So unfortunately,
no oil wells in Wisconsin.
Yeah. So.
Okay, sorry.
No pressure. Well, it'd be nice to clarify that because we get that a lot too. So.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jeremy, can I make a comment, please, for 3 minutes maybe, or not even?
No, that was the discussion between the board and sorry if you don't fit, but we have more people here. We have 15, 17 online. I'm going to keep going. Again, if you want to speak after anyone, feel free. Okay. All right, next. Anyone else in the room? I'll hear you can speak. Okay.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm Holly Walsh. I live at Ridge Road. And based on your thoughtful questions that you all asked in the meetings with Farmington, it leads me to believe that you all care a great deal about our community and its residents. And I believe it in your heart that you want to do what is right and best for this community. I stand here before you tonight to ask you to please reconsider and vote for extraterritorial zoning. This is precisely the tool to use in situations like this when a land use on the perimeter of one community potentially has a conflict of interest or could pose harm to an adjacent community. It's an opportunity to build bridges, to come together and collaborate with Farmington to determine land use and zoning that best serves both communities and the greater surrounding area. I've lived in Osceola for 16 years, a quarter mile, not complained about the mine prior to April 2019. And I don't remember hearing anyone complaining that there was a shortage of gravel and limestone and sand in our community and that we needed a larger mine because we didn't have enough supply. So why do we need an expanded mine? Historically, the 80-acre mine was mined at a depth of 25 feet, less and served this community for more than 30 years. And hardly had it used up all the resources on the land that it had. How is it that after a year and a half and mining at a depth of 75 feet, the current owners state that they will be out of resources in 3 to 5 years? In an interview with mine owner Pete Olson, the Osceola Sun reported when they purchased Ryback Mine in January of 2019, they saw a bleak future. And Pete was quoted, in 3 to 5 years, the original acreage would have been mined over. So we needed the 200 acres. From a business standpoint, I see this two ways. Either they made a poor business decision to purchase a mine with a bleak future, or they made an assumption that they can come in and steamroll our community with aggressive mining, full well knowing there was minimal restriction or on their permit and minimal oversight. Of course, before Farmington created this amazing ordinance. Now that sounds like a great business plan if you want to take advantage of a community and the resources within the land for your own profit, which would have likely remained the case had not our citizen group become very active in defending the community and demanding more safeguards and regulations be put into place. We care about this community and we do not want this mine expansion so close to so many residents, businesses, downtown Osceola and the St. Croix River. We are here to protect our community, the land, the water, the air, and for generations to come from negative impacts of this mine expansion could pose on our community, which would be lost tourism, lost property values, increased truck traffic, noise, pollution, and possible contamination of the watershed. Our core group.
Everyone else has kind of stopped now.
Okay.
So again, if you want to email it, that'd be great. I'm opening it up for discussion.
Okay.
Thank you. I appreciate that everyone's sticking to this, by the way. Anyone? Holly, you did say that you think Farmington's ordinance is amazing.
I think they did a good job with that, but it only is going to be valuable as it is enforceable.
Do you think that the residents like yourself who are passionate about this and were involved with this helped form that amazing ordinance?
Absolutely. I don't think we would have that ordinance today.
Okay. All right. Anyone else in the room? Is there anyone in the hall? I don't see anyone on my way in. Did you want to make a comment? Yes, please. All right. Just state your name and address and then I'll start.
Okay. I'm Adam Thierry Johnson. I live at 405 Ridge Road. These my readers on 5 app. I want to do this. I'm in favor of ETZ as a way to get oversight protection from you all here in Osceola. You know, if we call Debbie in Farmington with a complaint over noise or well water, when she finds out we live in Osceola, she does not represent us. Decline, basically, is what. And there's neighbors in my area that can confirm that as well. And so for that reason alone, we need you to represent us. And along those lines, so if the mine did break away from the established ordinance, what repercussions are there? And you can do that through ETZ to establish, having that conversation, establishing those guidelines. Beyond that, I don't see ETZ as a bad thing. I hear fear of legal. And what I hear is, and I've asked the miners, how much more mining do you have on your 80 acres of existing footprint? And to start now to plan how that reclamation works with the existing footprint. And I don't think that they considered moving their kind of establishment off the road, but that would be a possible long-range plan to look at annexing that, working with you in conversation and of course you to get your money out of it so that we could start to do a long-range plan of that area. Let me look at my notes here. So, to reclaim, as though, and I think that could work within your plan, like the 10-year plan to do a reclamation, for the plan to come back to Osceola, your annexation or whatever metrics that you've used to put into a development plan, or possibly just to look at best use purposes and practices for that area, because it's a great area that unfortunately no one wants to develop it. My house was built in the 50s, the mine's been there, came in 79. We haven't had any complaints until the last couple of years. And, I don't fault those guys for being aggressive and going after it. It's just, we need some oversight for if my well goes out. Do I have to pay for that? If it's their responsibility, if it went out from a blast, those kinds of issues. And that's why I'd like you to step forward and just meet TZ or whatever metrics you can have. Furthermore, I just wanted to say, even in an ad hoc capacity, be willing to look into long-range planning for the future development and however it can help. Thank you.
Any questions or comments for Adam, Bruce, Van?
Nope.
Anyone here? Hi.
Mine is less to, Ben, mine is more along the line of, I know that there's been discussion before that if a complaint from our resident goes to Farmington, that we run into some issues. If there's some sort of way we can work a process that would benefit both sides I don't know if it would, and this is something I have to decide, but some way to have our residents approach our village staff, not that we want to give you your friend, Jen, and relay that out. I don't, some way to come up with a good way to have that process work. Yeah, something that, and like I said, we don't have to decide this tonight. It's just something that I think maybe we should try to work on, because I heard that from more than just that.
Can you clarify one? So when you said look at annexing, were you referring to the current 80 acres?
Yeah, either in whole or in parts.
As they move down?
Correct. Correct.
I just wanted
And to work with it so that it's a win-win, because I'm hearing how can we work together on this in a way that it would make it in both of our best interests, so that we can have, no one wants to develop up there right now, but to bring in a developer and a long-range plan to be able to develop that neighborhood, Ridge Road neighborhood, and to create more of a tax base for you guys, more revenue.
I don't have any more questions. Thank you.
Nope.
Thank you all. And just one footnote, I do buy a lot of product from you guys, you don't know it, but so I am here to, it's not even though it's a quarter mile from my house, but we got to work together. So thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Hey, Adam, is there anyone else in the hall?
No one that's going to speak.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, anyone else in the room, or I'm going to move to our online. Okay. I'm not sure the best way to do this, so what I'm thinking is we're just gonna go across the top, second row, third row, give them an opportunity if they want to, if they don't, we'll move on to the next. It's on to everyone.
Jeremy, would you like me to, some of these callers put in their name, would you like me to ask those individuals first?
I would like you to unmute. Is that Ben?
That's me.
I was gonna say, is that you?
I'm unmuted right now.
All right, so then I can't see the next row here. Nora, is it Nora? So unmute Nora and we'll, or Nova, I can't see. Nova.
Okay, I believe she muted herself. I can't mute her.
Okay.
It could be.
It is. Okay. Nora, if you can hear me, unmute yourself if you'd like to speak. Okay. And we'll move on to our Johnson.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, now I can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yep. So if you'd like to speak, I just ask that you state your name and your address, and then after you say your address, I will start your 3 minutes, and when you hear the timer, your time is up. But then hang on in case anyone wants to ask any follow-up questions.
Okay, this is still for Nora, right?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Nora Eastland, I'm on 127 280th Street. I heard Matt from mine mention something about representation at these meetings, and it's an unfair statement. You can't take an accurate poll of interest just by the people who are able to show up at this meeting. I have a couple family members who are unable to be here tonight, and neighbors across, about 5 across the street, that are unable to be at these meetings for various reasons. So I just don't think that is a qualifying statement to make. I do think, though, because of the varied interests in our community and how this shapes the city and affects its atmosphere in so many levels, and those intangibles like noise and the quality of your time on the river because of the noise, or the air quality, those often get overlooked. It is government's role, and you as our governors are the only people that have the power to slow down or regulate businesses in your area. That is your role, and none of us have that. So we plead to you to please regulate the greed or the the profit interests that sometimes and many times pollute our air and contaminate our communities. I think there's a way we can all exist peacefully, but you can't rely on people that are just looking at profit to do that on their own. That is the role of our governance. So I think taking more time to do this, keep the area free to look at other options for that area, and these men can make plenty of money in the meantime, is a positive thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Hold on before you again. Does anyone have any questions?
No.
Comments?
No.
Bruce, Dan?
Nope.
I just have one for Nora. Nora, this is Van. I'm with. What?
I'm just making sure she can hear you fine.
Yep, I can hear.
Okay. Nora, this is Van. I'm on the village council for the village of Osceola. I just had a quick question for you. Have you read and at all looked at the most recent, and it was the most recent and past ordinance by the township of Farmington? And if you have, what do you think about that?
I was really pleased. I was so pleased to see that they weren't going to dig into the water table. That, in other words, some holding back, some saying, hey, people don't want the water contaminated. We can regulate that. You men can still make your living. That's exactly what I'm talking about. I'm glad you bring that up. Obviously, they'd probably, if the frac sand market were still really viable, they'd still be doing that and wanting to grab that stuff down below the water table. So it's a perfect example of how your role is to say, wait, you can still make money and a living, but you can't do it to the extent that it's harming our village and our lives.
Okay, I thank you for that. I just wanted to double check. It sounded like you were pretty knowledgeable in it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Nora, this is Bruce Skilliland. I'm on the board also. Do you feel the current just passed ordinance does not provide protections for the environment? And if so, where?
Well, my concern is that expansion. Is that really what the town wants to have 200 acres of? And
Everybody says that. They're not going to mine 200 acres all
right,
at once.
I get that. I get that. I
Okay,
get that.
well,
But
everybody
it's
talks
still,
about it like they will.
right, and it's still the use of the land, and it's the amount of is there any better use for that for the village? It's near a hospital. It's near. Is it really what?
You're still not answering my question. Where are the protections falling down in your mind?
Well, like others had mentioned, how is regulation going to be monitored going forward? What if somebody has a contaminated well? There weren't sound ordinance, well, there were sound ordinances posed, but not time restrictions posed. I don't know what, and I'm sorry because I can't recall everything that was in the ordinance around air pollution, but the questions are, what if stuff comes up, then what?
There are things in that ordinance that address that.
Regarding air quality?
Air quality, water quality, contaminated wells, all of those are covered in the ordinance. And I agree, it's a lot of material to digest, so I'm not saying you're at fault here or anything. I'm just saying, I've looked at this ordinance for a long time and studied it, and I feel comfortable with the protections it provides.
I think, just as a reminder, if all these citizens hadn't come in and demanded this, and that extra caution, I think, is really wise for the village to think about. This just buys you time to maybe slow some things down and get look at some things. I know they said it's already been 14 months. That's not a long time for something that's this impactful to a community.
Okay.
So that's just my opinion.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Jeremy, it's all yours.
All right, thank you, Nora. The next is Paul Watzka.
Watzka, that's correct. Yeah, I would just like to.
Say your name and address, please, and then I'll start the timer.
My name is Paul Watzka. I live at 13226 North Highway 74 in El Tura, and I've been a consultant representing the citizens group. And I just want to make one point here about this ordinance. Yes, there are some good things in it, but I would just address some of the loopholes. That is, in particular, Section 13. If you look at Section 13 of that ordinance, anything in this ordinance can be undone by an agreement between the applicant and the board.
Okay, and I think we had some conversation with Farmington about that, and their contention was that would be few and far between, and it would have to be a really exceptional situation. It would not be something we would see.
If you would read the section, you would understand it's a D11 cat in terms of a loophole. You can drive a D11 cat through that loophole.
if you want to assume somebody's going to try to take that approach, certainly is true. I think that presupposes that people have bad intentions going forward, and I don't believe that's the case.
Again, I think if the ordinance wanted to stand on its own legs, you wouldn't need an exception to the whole complete ordinance that would be that broad.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's it, okay.
That's
Any
it.
other questions or comments for Paul?
No.
And Paul, just real quickly, you said El Toro. You mean California?
No, Minnesota.
That's
Oh,
what I
okay.
was wondering. Yep.
Yeah, I live near the little hamlet of Weaver, Minnesota, in
Okay.
Minnehaska Township, Wabasha County.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm from California originally, and El Toro is a big town down there.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of El Toros in this country. Yeah, means
Okay.
high place in Spanish. Yeah, thank you for your efforts. Yeah, take care.
Okay.
All right. Jason, would you like to speak?
No.
Okay.
All right, Kent Jefferson. Kent Jefferson, if you'd like to speak, please unmute yourself. All right. R. Johnson.
I'm just listening in tonight. I have no comment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Johnson, I do have to apologize for accidentally excusing you from the meeting. So thanks, glad you got back on board.
No problem.
All right. Ann Levy.
Hi, I'm just, wait a minute. Okay. My name is Mike. I love the St. Croix for its quality of life, its national biking trails. Levy. I'm just kidding. That was a way to get more time in for the 3 minutes.
And your address, please?
293 280th Street. Okay, I'd like to start by quoting from the findings of this ordinance that was passed by Farmington on the introductory pages. It says many aspects of non-metallic mining operations are left unregulated with potential adverse impacts to the public health, safety, and welfare of the residents of the town. And I want to bring this upscale to a bit to consider the adjacent communities, because even though this is located in Farmington, as we know, it has tremendous impact on the people of Osceola and even people across the river in Minnesota. And the direct impacts that we have already known over the last, since, let's say, a year and some months, have been severe. And science will confirm over the long term that the regulations that have been put in, essentially derived in this ordinance in Section 7 from OSHA standards, were simply reduced by 5 dBs at the mine. There was no attempt to change or to sense or to evaluate what is going to be the noise issue at the residences, which is something that many of us had hoped for. I'm going to say, as an example to what Bruce was talking about, there is proof is in the pudding, which is that you, the village trustees, have contributed greatly to this ordinance through the meetings that you have had jointly with Farmington. So there's no reason to think that working together in cooperation with Farmington would be any less productive in the future than it has already been in a short period of time. And the indirect impacts, which are affecting Osceola, are probably greater than those of Farmington, because Osceola, unlike Farmington, has so many businesses that Rita and others have talked about, which depend on this image nationally known. People call me from all over the country saying, when I tell them I'm from Osceola, they say, oh my gosh, you've got that amazing bike trail along Ridge Road. You've got that amazing bird migration flyway that we're all researching. You've got all of this St. Croix National Scenic Riverway. So the indirect impacts on what makes the quality of life here so special are quite vast. Bruce asked for some specifics on what's not in the ordinance. And I would say there are about a dozen, which I've already discussed in my presentation to Farmington at their public hearing. The opportunity for public input, by the way, other than, as some people have said, was very limited because almost at every intersection over this whole period, we have been prohibited from speaking out at members of the public. It has been only others have been allowed to do that. So it's wonderful that you guys have opened this up to the public. That's exactly what we are hoping for. We are challenged by so many other issues now. The future is going in the direction of needing to watch for these long-term impacts. And my timer just went off, so I'm going to stop here.
I started mine late, but thank you for being honest.
Thank you.
Um,
1 second, Mike. Anyone in the room have questions for Mike?
this is Van. If nobody else has a room, I have a question for Mr. Levy.
Go ahead, man.
Mike, what on those other things you were just going to talk about, what is the biggest thing that's missing out of this?
I think it's the complaint resolution mechanism, which has been resisted not only by the Board of Farmington up until now, it's also obviously if the miners had wanted to ensure best possible relations with the community, they've known, I certainly believe that since they've attended these meetings, they've known public concerns about how distressing the noise is. We're talking about really serious complaints. How serious the fear is over water. For example, acrylamides are not even listed in the list of pollutants that's covered in the regulation that's specifically cited by the board, even though they are to be tested in the ordinance. I mean, there are a lot of very detailed technical aspects which are too great to go into here. But the nice thing is thinking that you, the board, who's going to have it on the agenda no matter what happens, if you do ETZ or not, you're going to be faced with this issue because you have residents who are severely impacted for a long time to come. So the complaint mechanism is probably my number one.
So the complaint mechanism is that you feel that you're not being heard either by the village of Osceola or the township of Farmington, which, we live right next to each other. We share 3 sides of property together. So obviously we have a vested interest in this, and so does Farmington. So if I would think, has anybody had a problem with not getting their complaint resolved up until just recently? Is this the issue?
Yeah, to put it bluntly, yes. I don't think anybody's complaint has been actually resolved, whether it's operating hours, whether it's, there have been some slight changes that were reluctantly put in. But what would be great, let's think positively, as Bruce was asking, options, ETZ, and also some sort of committee that would give the residents of Farmington who have concerns and who are willing to monitor, who are willing to watch, put the money into double checking that, see that these water quality, air quality, pollution, the 20% opacity is kind of an arbitrary, difficult to measure fine particle pollution standard. But have a committee, ongoing committee, so people will be engaged in this conversation. Bring the miners in. Let's all have a chance to sit down and talk together. That's the way diplomats do it. That's the way international crises are solved.
Right, and I think the miners want to be involved too, and they've been very outspoken about that, where they need to say what's on their mind too, and we got a little bit of that tonight. That's all the questions I've got for you now.
Thank you very much.
All right, is that all?
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Mike. If you could mute yourself again, that'd be great. Thank you. And then caller 9. Caller 9, if you could please unmute yourself.
We have a green light.
Okay. Caller 9, are you there?
I unmuted them.
Oh.
All right. If you could mute again. Then. All right. I believe that's everyone online.
Well, I would like to thank everyone for their comments, and I really want to thank everyone for respecting the timer, and I appreciate that. With that, anybody else have any questions? All right, so the next item, discussion and possible action regarding possible motion to renew the motion to adopt resolution 2016, now resolution 2017, resolution formally initiating the development of an extraterritorial zoning ordinance from the August 6, 2020 special Village of Osceola board meeting.
Are we having discussion on this or whether we're going to go ahead?
I did not set the agenda item, so I don't know if I should start talking.
I think it just says discussion of possible action, so I believe that means that we can discuss if we choose.
Yeah, if you'd like to say something, Van, yep.
Bruce, are you going to go?
I don't have anything to say other than what I said last time, so I haven't heard anything tonight that's changed my mind on anything. My mind, we have other priorities at this point to do for the village to run. We've got to get our budget done for 2021. That's behind schedule. We've got some capital planning that we need to do. All those things. I think we've got enough on our plate. So I wouldn't be in favor of doing anything more. Go ahead, Dan, it's all yours.
Thank you. Yeah, tonight I'm kind of I don't know how should I describe it. I don't know if we should go ahead tonight. I'm kind of thinking, you know, we've probably got to maybe close up some questions coming down the line. You know, personally tonight, I don't know if we're ready for a vote. I'm speaking of myself. I haven't changed my mind yet, but I think we need to do some more work as far as finding out exactly, is the purpose of the extraterritorial zoning, is it really what it's about? I mean, my personal feelings was that I just want to make sure that when it comes time, when more property becomes mined, that we're going to have that monitoring well in. We're going to have all these things done. Yeah, I want to make sure, you know, but however, then things have changed. I don't think they're going to get their frac sand mining in full swing again. And it may never come back. It may continue to be the gravel pit it is. And not going below the water table. However, I still think it needs to be monitored, and it is being monitored by the state and local. We have Polk County involved too, and the township has some strict ordinances. I'm just wondering if, you know, I still believe in the extraterritorial zoning, but I want to believe it the way I felt was going to be used, and that was to make sure that, you know, nothing was missing. I want to see exactly what's missing, what Farmington Township is missing as far as the complaint issues and all these other things that Mr. Levy was talking about and several other people were talking about. I want to see that before I start making another vote and to see if there is more to this. I know some of you have got your minds made up, and that's fine. But I like to question things until they are completely dead. And I mean, I want to feel really good when I vote on something. I want to be fully educated. I think I'm missing a couple of things, and I think Mr. Levy has some points. Watska has some points. So we have to take that consideration, that I'm taking it in consideration as a vote. I would like to, my opinion is I would not like to take any action tonight. I would like to have these people present us with more evidence and more things that we really need to be on the alert about. As of right now, I would feel comfortable about getting more of this information that I have not seen and I need to address as a member of the village board. That's all I've got to say.
Can I add something, Jeremy? So to be really honest, when the meeting was called, I wasn't sure how I felt about it. I thought it was another chance to yell at. But I think Deb's kind of really spoke it right. I think the open dialogue, I think I'm really impressed. I think working with Farmington is something that we need to do. Working with the Osceola Township is something we need to do for long-term growth. I'm really impressed by the open dialogue we had here tonight. I thought it went well both ways. And I think that it's something we can do in the future, keep the dialogue open.
No, I said kind of my piece the last meeting. I was happy to hear tonight, and I don't know if it's just the state of the world or what. I kind of was thinking this might be maybe get yelled at session. I've been trying, I think one thing this board's done well is open dialogue, which to be open and honest with people. And I try to stay after every meeting. I probably won't tonight because I got to go to work. But I was happy to hear that people were happy with the new ordinance, because it went from a page and a half to 27 pages. It might not have everything, but it obviously is a lot better than it was. I also liked seeing tonight and hearing from people, maybe we can work together and look at this issue as what it is and work together versus this tool. And I'm not saying it's not the right one, but I don't think it's the right one for this specific instance. So I'm hoping maybe moving forward, and this will be in next steps, I guess, in a way, but that we can get together. Who that might be, I don't know exactly yet, but and figure out these problems and try to deal with them. That's about all I have to say. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I just want to say what I started at the beginning with, just thanking, all of you guys on the board for, respecting my call to have a meeting. This is what I had hoped we would have, and I am thrilled that it was a good open conversation and everything's up. And if it had done a different way by me, all that, I'm okay with taking the body blows. You guys threw a couple body blows at me, I'm good with it, Like I said, the continued learning is what I want to keep doing when I'm on the board. And if I don't keep learning, I'm not good to anybody here that lives in this town, including myself. So I appreciate the conversation, I appreciate the respectfulness that everybody had for everybody. I appreciate the ability to continue to work together, for everybody to be open and want to try and work together. And like I said at the beginning, continue to listen and continue to engage. So thank you to everyone who's spoken.
Yeah, I would just add too, I'd like to thank the town of Farmington for their work on the ordinance. I think there's the residents, particularly when they started it, and when we came in too, you took some suggestions that we had, you added your own, and developed a good document. The mine owners too, in their work, and certainly the residents did a lot of work too. So I think this is it's a good point. We can continue working together. I don't think this is the end point for anything. I think we're neighbors. For residents of two different communities, and I think just continue working together and move forward.
Bruce, did you have anything to add? Or?
No, I think I've said all I wanted to say.
Oh, you went already. Sorry.
It's okay.
All right.
Jeremy, just for
because there is this discussion on whether or not this is an item. Just for clarity's sake, I think it would be good to, announce if there any action on the item, go a couple more times just to make sure all the board members that may want to, and then.
So with everyone speaking their piece, is there any action on this item?
Not for me.
I don't have anything to add.
No.
I'll just ask one last time. Clarity sake, is there any action?
Just kidding.
That's what I'm asking. As far as this action, is there any motion to be heard?
No.
I have nothing, no.
No.
All right. That is just for the action, correct? Correct. The motion dies, which then I'll leave the item. Sorry. Okay. That then influenced the next. Where do we have to do that? Stuff or not?
Like previous time, I think you need the resolution before the ordinance becomes a discussion item.
Okay. All right, next steps. I think we kind of covered that already.
The only thing I have to add is that as we've been talking through all of this and everything, is we had back the first time we met with Farmington, we had somewhat of a discussion about, as we went through the ordinance pieces that were being reported to Farmington, and maybe trying to set up an MOU with them or something. Or like tonight, we talked about, agreement with the North 40 group. And maybe it's more that we, as they're reporting to Farmington, North 40 is reporting to Farmington, maybe we just become something. I don't know how formal we need to do anything. I just think that it would be just kind of a nice thing for us to just have on record in case something comes up. And then going back to just kind of the discussion at some point on, working
Shuffling
together.
songs by Pink Floyd on Amazon Music.
With our residents with Farmington on, if there are questions, complaints, concerns, ideas, thoughts, or something like that, just doing something, informally, formally.
We have a lot coming up, but I would like to keep this as an item that we worked on in the future. I assume you guys are going into a slow time of year coming up. Correct? Probably. Yeah. But, just kind of off the website, I did some notes, just maybe being able to sit down, concerned residents that live along that kind of, because it does affect them, I think, the most. Mine and Farmington, just trying to figure out what we want to do. So
When you're done, Jeremy, I just had a quick question for you.
Go ahead.
On this proposed, what we were going to propose tonight, is there a die date on that, or can that just be put aside and open back up if we're going to need that down the line?
Because it didn't actually get voted on tonight or passed or anything, it's just a resolution that can be proposed at any time.
All right, I just wanted, the proposal, looks fine and everything. And if we had to modify it, I suppose, but nothing else will supersede that then until we actually take any action or any vote. It just remains the same. It remains in file.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments, concerns?
Nope.
No. All right, I'd like to thank everyone for participating. I'd like to thank everyone for coming, and we will adjourn at 7:50.
Very good. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. See you next time.
Thanks, Dan. We're done. Nothing is gonna go down. It wasn't even brought up. No, it can be brought up down the road again if some board member wants to bring it up again. But no, there's nothing on the table. We didn't even bring it up. Sure, talk to Fran.
Yeah. Okay. I just have, yeah. It does need
Oh, that's fine. Keep talking.
That's why my eyes burn because of my contacts every day, but.
I used to wear contacts too.
Yeah, take care of yourself.
See ya.